Let's get straight on with the action. The first person is going to join me on the stage from Microfocus, Petr Hněvkovský.
I just couldn't wait to get on the road again.
And I still got it wrong.
I love this making music with my friends. And I couldn't wait to get on the road again. On the road again. Like another since we gone down the highway. We're just the friends. And since we down the road is coming our way. But always on the road again. I can't wait to get on the road again. I love is making music with my friends. And I can't wait to get on the road again.
Please take a seat.
Take a seat.
Take a seat.
All right.
Just for a couple of minutes.
Okay.
And we'll discover you. Actually, you have lots of links. You sent me all sorts of things. You like sailing and diving and all sorts of crazy things like that.
I'm getting a lot of echo, but I think I understand you.
Yeah, it's the room, I'm afraid.
Okay.
It comes off that wall and it comes back to us.
Lovely.
It's slightly disturbing, I know. We'll have the whole building changed for you.
Oh, thank you.
This is a great effort, isn't it? I think it's a fantastic place, this meeting of everybody
Yes.
here.
I love it. That's why I come here. I wasn't here the past few years, but before I used to join Risk, and it was always a good event.
And from your personal point of view, you're an outdoor man, certainly. You like me, you do a bit of sailing?
Yes, I do a little sailing and cycling and diving.
What does sailing mean to you? A regatta, racing?
Yes, well, first of all, I'm Czech, so we have no sea, so I always have to go to the sea. And I do a little bit of regatta sailing, but it's got more fun sailing. But really enjoyed one just recently, this month actually.
Where do you go?
I go usually, to Adriatic.
Okay.
I've never made it actually to Slovenia, but usually go down a little bit south to Croatia.
Yeah, which is great sailing ground and
Wonderful.
lots of ports and so
Yes.
on. Become quite an expensive business.
It is getting too popular, yes.
Yeah. And you keep fit with other stuff, so I mean, all this cycling.
I would love to keep fit, but I got like 10 kilos more with Corona, fat, so sitting at home. But yes, I try to cycle a bit, try to dive. Downhilling is my favorite one. There are good mountains here.
We've used enough of your presentation
Oh,
already.
really?
I
Cool.
think you should get on with the job. Peter, thank you very much.
Thank you. So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very happy to see so many people coming up for the first presentation. I didn't know that they're going to use 3 minutes of my talk. They're very hard on time here, so I have to speed up. My name is Petr Hněvkovský. I'm from Microfocus, the CyberRes division, and I'm going to talk today about data, identities, and applications, why they are important, what do they mean to you, and how they disrupt the business, basically. And since the theme of the event is back to good old times, I thought, let's go back to what I consider good old times, what I remember. And back in 1992, I guess I see the people that actually still remember the same age as I am, or similar. Guess what was the important thing for me? What was the disruption? What was the thing? Can you guess anything? What happened in 1992? I'm going to help you. It was the Microsoft DOS time, right? Command line. Wolfenstein was produced and launched in 92. Visual Basic from Microsoft. IBM introduced their ThinkPads, the first, track pointing. Still ringing a bell? Intel released their 486 processor, right? Those were the times where we kind of enjoyed things. And Gopher, which was the predecessor before, the internet and then, or the World Wide Web. So what I'm talking about is, I was quite surprised how many things actually from the year 1992. It was quite a strong year. For me, there was something more important. It actually happened it was the Apple Newton. That for me was a disruptor. I don't know if you remember those things. It was a pretty unique thing. And it had an innovative approach. By the way, the ARM processor was used there, which now powers all our phones and notebooks and things. But it had a different concept, you know. Before, instead of using these big floppy disks, it was actually beaming applications. You could go and change data. If you meet a person, you could just beam data to them. It was at that time something completely unbelievable. Unfortunately, not many people had Newton, so you couldn't beam to anybody, right? But if you met someone, you could. It also had the applications like that, right? So you could beam an application instead of downloading. So, and that's a very different approach, and a lot of other things. So this was for me the disruption that really changed my way of thinking. And from that, I kind of consider that as a disruption of the change going from, let's say, the analog times to now digital ones. And this is affecting your daily business, the way you work, the way you commute, the way you travel, the way you do business. It doesn't matter what you do, it affects you. I have an example which I was quite shocked after COVID time. Recently, I wanted to renovate an apartment and I wanted to get a loan from a bank, so I actually called the top 5 banks back home in Prague. And they all called me back, yes, and one of the banks, number 4, actually insisted on going to their office and talk about the loan. So, no, but just give me, I'll tell you this is what I'm on, so and give me the offer. Then if I like the offer, let's talk. So, no, we need to go. And for me was like, no, I'm not going to do business with someone who is going to waste my time because I'm most likely not going to take that loan because it's one of 5. And I think this is what you see as a change. Everybody now needs to be more agile, needs to really get closer to the customer, closer to the partners, and open up. And it's for like my kids, they're teenagers, for them what is not digital, that doesn't exist for them. And so that's what they actually, they basically demand change. Now going back to old times, in 1992, this was my car, right? Skoda 100, it was a cool car. Was it innovative? Well, in the 70s maybe, right? But wasn't really that innovative from a digital perspective. Because all you needed was a big hammer and a wrench to fix it. And why I'm talking about that? Well, because the digital disruption is affecting not only the computer times, or which we all understand, but also our daily lives. Because from now, if you look on your new car, you need a phone. You don't need a wrench. You have a key fob, and for this one, like for the Tesla. And these are the things that actually now on a daily basis are. You need an identity, you need an application to get somewhere. And there are tons of data, but unfortunately, I don't know if you read the news, this happened last month, right? 2 weeks ago, they did a pawn-to-own contest, and I'm not going to bash Tesla here. Anybody can be the one who can basically be broken to. The problem is, this is not the first time. This is the, 10th time maybe they have been hacked. They have been, misused, and they actually were the most common hacked cars. So I would really consider that as a punch in the face and really do something with it. Why the hell don't they do something with that? And this was a simple thing. This was just an access thing, right? They just hacked the key for it. So I don't work for Tesla, but I have the luxury, but I was privileged to work with Jaguar Racing Team, and the same thing, right? They told me, yeah, we have all single sign-on, password thing, and we need to be agile because we travel from race to race to race to race because they're a racing company, Formula E. And when we did an investigation, we realized, well, they have a password and they have single sign-on. But in the background, some of their passwords were sent in clear text because they were not using the best methods. So for them, from the outside, yeah, we have a single sign-on. On the back end was, they travel in the airports, they travel to the race pits. And for that, I could simply just sniff the same network, and I would be able to take their data. Now, the problem is, these guys tune the car, they set the strategy, how to win the race. So if I'm a competitor, all I need to know is, how are they getting ready for the next race? What we did was quite simple. We basically leveled up the access management, we put them a modern authentication with tokens, and then we did a reassurance on top. If there is something fishy, I'm not going to bother you all the time with some phones and a second factor, but if there's something fishy, like I'm here now in Slovenia, it's not where I normally go to, I'm going to ask for a second step of authentication. So I just pick on a phone, just FaceTime and do it, right? So this was the way how we could improve their security. And this was something what my friend told me, showed me, he's got a BMW. So he can basically open his car with a phone. But before that, he just looks into the phone and he opens it up. So you have a secured access and you have a second authentication. Now, going beyond that, I think the important thing is don't use security only as a security tool. Try to use it as an enabler. Here's another example from a traditional, strong Swedish car manufacturer. Their problem, they didn't want an identity management. They didn't want to solve anything like that. But the problem is they are really strong about trust. They need to know, I mean, if you buy the parts, it's going to be genuine Volvo, genuine parts from the, I'm supposed to say the name, but it's a Swedish company. So genuine parts coming from that company. Now they are run with 5,000 different dealerships, car dealers and service organizations. They're all external. They needed to, they have all the Jonas movers levers. They needed to change every time and you're drawing the lever of an external company. It took them usually about 2 weeks, email ping pong back and forward, while the car dealership wasn't working, it was taking time. It was pain, effort, time, a lot of errors, not correct, and they were not sure that this person is the person who's doing it. But deploying simple network access in a federated fashion, now they have 5 times more identities and takes them 1 minute without anyone to provision all the access to the car ordering, spas, to the training, to the other thing, all they need, and they have exactly know who that is, although it's a third-party external thing. So this is the benefit. They didn't buy a security solution. They needed to buy a solution that helped them do their business in a timely fashion, cheaper, faster, with more accuracy, so they can say, yes, I know this person is that person, he has been trained, he knows how to use this tool, so when he's going to put it into the car, because he's going to use my car, and this is what you don't want to be in the news, right? Protect the brand. So talking about these cars again, I don't know, I picked a car topic today. They don't actually create all the cars, right? I mean, they design them and they assemble them. But 99% of the top parts are from third party. They're OEM, right? So they are from some suppliers. And this is the same way how your business looks like. This is the same way how an environment looks like. So you are using third-party tools, you're using third-party applications in your environment, and you need to trust them because altogether they run your business, right? So to do that, all you need to do is really understand them, and you need to do 3 things, and it's very important when you look on your environment. You don't only need to look at the applications from inside, understand what's in there, but really understand they are using now 60, 70, 80% third-party software, old source, open source information, all the different libraries. Do you know that they are correct? Do you know that they have no problems? Do you know there's no vulnerability? Because you're embedding them into your solution. You're using them, and they make part of your system. So look inside the application, scan them, understand what's going on in there, no matter what you're using, and then look from outside as well. So you need to have both. Inside look and outside look, really like I'm the white hacker, or I'm the black hacker trying to hack in. It's like when you lock the door, then you pull the lock. Did I lock the door? You have this reassurance. Again, talking about Jaguar just a little bit. For them, this was not a security. They didn't actually want a application security. But for them, using this was an enabler. Because, you know, if you know Formula E is the electric version of Formula 1, all the cars are the same. You can't put a new wind spoiler, you can't put a new wing on it, you can't change the aerodynamics. All the cars are the same. What you can change is how you can change the driver, and you can tweak the engine. That means you need to have an application, you need to tweak the data. And this is what actually drives them, pushes them forward. So for them, this is extremely important, so they can actually tweak and win the next race. It was not the security, but they needed to be sure that when they actually will do these changes, when they run this car, it's going to be secure, and they're going to win and get the next podium. Now these teams are super lean, they are very small, they were like 50 people company, there were 3 guys in the IT, they have no time, there's no big development team. And when you go to them, it's like, yeah, we don't want another tool. Well, it's on demand. It's like your Office 365. You don't need to install anything. Just runs for you. Oh, cool, easy. And it just plugs. But yeah, but these developers, they are really picky on their tooling. So I'm an expert in car thing, and I'm not going to use your tools. So no, I don't care what you use. Do you use Visual Code Studio? Do you use Eclipse? What do you use? I'm going to plug into your place, into your GitHub, into your tool chain in DevOps, and I'm going to do my job. And that was the winning thing. So actually, this very lean time could manage to do that in 3 rounds, basically. Intro, show their case them, and then third one, basically advanced stuff. And they were up and running. Now, self-alone, they know that their applications are not vulnerable anymore. Now, these examples were only just a few things, like the key fob change, right? There are so many, there are like thousands and thousands of chips, well, maybe hundreds of chips in every car. They all run a little bit of Objective-C or other different languages. So there are too many entry points, right? And it's like environment. There are so many entry points into your environment. There's so many bits and pieces that can break. So there's so many ways how I can really attack you. So how can I detect those things? How can I understand what's going on in there? Well, luckily, there's a micro-organization that did a little bit of job for us, helped us. So we know what are the different techniques. What are the tactics? There are like, I think 15 different tactics also, that how basically you start from preparation, resistance, and reconnaissance, heading in, all the things. And there are hundreds of different techniques how you actually do those tactics. So if you want to detect what's happening to you, you should look at your solution. What do they cover? Do they actually cover the whole scheme? Because you can't. I know maybe 10 of them, but the hackers know all of them. So get a solution that has a full coverage of way to detect all your different ways to getting into your environment, and look at 2 things. First of all, what I call it has to be fusion analytics. It blends all the different engines to find the unknowns with correlation rules, find the knowns with other correlations, find the unknowns with the UBA, give you threat hunting, and really have the ability to layer them and fuse them together, because the guys are not going to use one technique, they're going to use several techniques, they're going to go against you. Again, a little bit one example from a chip. This is a big chip company. You're actually using them most likely on a daily basis. And this is an old story, not old story, but I think a couple of years ago. But it showcases where was the value for them. For them, the intellectual property is in the chip design, in the code that runs in the chip. They, by coincidence, found the 2 guys were stealing that. They go, so we need to protect that. So they engage with a well-known consulting firm and a well-known, what they call a UBA vendor. And they spent $1 million and a year. 1 year later, they found nothing. So this is why you need to have a proper engine that really understands what's going on, because you don't want to have a data scientist in your team. You don't want to have an expert. You don't want to have training and tuning. Get a tool that actually learns for itself and understands. This is what happened with our training in a 2-week POC. We've confirmed that 2 guys, yes, they stole the data. We found them. We also discovered 3 more guys in the US and 8 more guys in China doing more things. And this was the value, this was the benefit, protecting the intellectual property of the company. Now we could travel more, we could travel far, far into the history. Now this is 2,500 years, so this before Christ. There was a famous warrior, Sun Tzu, that actually wrote the Art of War book, which maybe may be used in security. There's one sentence which I like, and it is, well, we're talking about tooling. But tooling actually are used in battle. But most battles, or every battle actually, is won before it is fought. So if you do proper positioning, planning, and preparation, you can be much better based in the battle. And I think we see that in real life. So for that, it doesn't make sense to tell you, hey, you're on fire. Because you most likely know that you are on fire, right? I don't have to tell you that. And that's what most of the threat intelligence programs tell you. So we rather tell you, it's like, well, hang on. There's a fire going from, well, I'm going to pick a country which is most likely not here, Austria. And it's going your way because there's wind blowing this way, right? So you get ready for that. This is what you need to know. I'm in this geography, I'm in this business, this can affect me, and this is going my way, and I need to prepare for that. And this is exactly what we're doing with Galaxy Online. We've launched a threat research platform for you, and even though that you may not be a customer of ArcSight or 44, something I've talked about, you can use that. It's free, you can join in, and it gives you this ability to not only give you the threat intel feed, but it gives you a research platform to understand from a business perspective what affects you. So you can understand what's going on. If you are go to the next meeting, try it, right? What can be the next thing? If you need to brief your managers, the people that do not understand ArcSight, understand security, this is what You can tell them, because it's built by CISOs for CISOs. So it doesn't talk the technical jargon. Yes, it has technical details, but it's an executive summary. What does it effectively, what's the role for it? So whatever technology is going to be invented by the cybersecurity people, it's going to be most likely broken very soon, right? So no matter if you are in B2B business or B2 customer, or if you serve as a government agency, the citizens, well, we all live in a highly interconnected world, right? It's affected by technological issues, pandemic issues, geopolitical issues. You see, these things were not expected, but they still hit us badly. They really hit us surprisingly. So I think you need to be ready. You need to build some shock absorbers to be ready and have resilience built into your environment. Because your friend can turn to be a foe very soon. Now, people do a lot of innovations. Like, this is a recent innovation. I'm picking on Austria today. Don't know why. The power plant in Austria, in Wien, Simmering, is now having a new security dog. They call it a cyber dog. This is how they're going to govern their OT environment. So instead of having people walking around and basically smoking and drinking coffee and sleeping, pretending they are going and walking around their Russian technology, now what they have deployed this cyber dog. Oh, this sounds cool. Everybody knows it's this Boston Dynamics dog. It's very known. The problem is, look at it closely. I don't know if it works like this or that. It does work like that. No? Okay, never mind. It's used as a carrier. It has things that you can, hook things on the bottom and hook things on the top. And this is exactly what they did. They put a little box here, most likely running some Raspberry Pi. They put a microphone, a camera, and so on and so on. These things are exactly what your environment looks like. You take something from off the shelf, you blend it with your environment, you tune it, and you stitch on it bits and pieces that are not there from the original. So they were not tested by Boston Dynamics. They're most likely, did they actually scan the code that runs those things? And that they didn't. What are they going to run? They're going to run some optical recognition. They wrote that they have some chemistry things. They have microphones for noise recognition. All these things. There are libraries like that are a lot of them open source. This is what you usually use. You pull them in, stitch them with a little bit of Python scripting and something. Well, I mean, that's what I can do, the maximum. Maybe they do something more intelligent and clever. But these things have not been tested. I don't know what identities this dog uses. Because he can access all the different doors. He can walk around and get to this door, go to that area, and he can do the whole perimeter. This is what you want to protect. Well, what if I can send a false signal to that dog? What if I know that it's going to run some Log4j library, and I just send a little command, well, behave like a dog, but when you see me, ignore me, don't report me. Very simple. This is so I can circumvent that quite easily. So when you think about your innovations, when you think about new things bringing into your company, bringing into your environment, think about it twice. And don't forget, there's a piece of code running that you need to scan. It's going to use some kind of identity. It's going to call some API. Scan the API. Understand where does it have access to, and then if this dog is walking around, it's most likely going to be predictive because it's going to walk the same path all the time. So then I can find anomalies. If this dog is not doing what he's doing, let me have a look at it and let me learn from that. So, in summary, the impact of cyber resiliency is huge because that's what you need to deliver to your customers, right? Well, if you do it properly, you're going to have fewer incidents because you're going to protect and prevent from all the different malicious activities that are happening there, right? You're going to have also, it's going to be cheaper. You're going to have fewer costs, fewer fines. So a lot of the projects we start actually start as a compliance reporting, or when we do data discovery, the customer doesn't want to do data discovery, but they're forced to do that by GDPR. By the way, it's 4 years now, also anniversary last week of GDPR. I don't know if anybody remembers that. It was a big thing, and it goes, but actually it is happening. is driving business our way, that we do a lot of data discovery projects with customers. We classify the data, we reduce the data, and we only focus on the data that are important. So the decision makers have their data in one place and know this is the source of truth. All the rest is obsolete. We can reduce our maintenance windows, we can reduce our backup storage and other things. Obviously, you're going to have less risk, and that's what the customer wants. So it's very difficult to prove to the customer, I mean, am I doing the right security? Because if there are no incidents, say, well, I'm paying all this money, but there's nothing happening. So why am I paying this money? Or vice versa, if there's an incident, it's like, I'm paying all this money, but are they here to distract me? I guess they are. And I just lost my thought. Cool. I'm going to use it for sipping of water. So are they here to, if there is an incident, like why am I paying money? There's an incident, right? So you didn't do your job properly. So having less risk, reducing the exposure time, and being able to showcase that in a valuable way. And finally, a lot of the customers, and I showed some of these examples, are doing things to protect their brand. You know, if you're in a finance world, if you are a car producer, you've got to go to someone you trust. So they don't want to make the news tomorrow. If they don't want to make the news tomorrow, this is how you help them, really help their reputation that the customers trust them. To be really successful, we found out the best way is not to sell security, actually. Yes, we do cyber resilience. That's one thing we really focus on very, very strongly on. But if you're able to position it as a business enabler, like those 3 examples I was talking about, then most of the customers were not buying identity management. They were not buying data classification. Well, they're having a technological problem or in their business, and we enable them to go further, to reach the customers, go closer to them, or we enable them to collaborate with other partners, supply chain. And this way, you're going to have much easier to sell your security, get a buy-in from the customer, and really be able to sell a much bigger project. Finally, I think you know that, right? But it's important to stress that. You know, you need to talk about identities, data, applications, and monitor that. Because if something is compromised, if I steal your identity, I happen to do it, and there's nothing else, well, then I can get to your data. But if I protect the data, although I have access to your data, the data is encrypted, I cannot use it, right? And vice versa. So better build a layered, cyber-resilient framework where one layer is not enough, but many layers together, they are strong. Now, if you're interested, if this was interesting for you, I would encourage you please to go and visit us. I have my colleagues, we have a booth right in front of the hall. If you want to talk about data discovery, if you want to talk about data classification and encryption, you can talk about voltage. If you want to talk about identity and access management and really understand the join removal levers and step authentication and all these different things, you can talk about NetIQ. We've talked about the applications security examples, Jaguar Racing. I've got a Fortify expert here sitting in the hall, so he's going to be eager to show you how easily you can plug this into your environment and how you can actually really, without disruption, without changing, installing anything. And this is an important thing. You don't want to have another tool. You want to have a solution that works for you, right? And finally, I've got another colleague that actually is an expert in security operations, right? I have the names there actually, Slava Popov and Arun, they're all there. So talk with them, they have some really, really cool examples from real life, how this can help you. And with that, I would like to have a closing request. If there's one thing you can take away from this presentation, please, is go and try Galaxy. We've launched it in January, so it's fairly new. We've spent 1 year preparing it and building it up, and I think it has great impact. We have customers, and some of us are ArcSight partners, so you know what I'm talking about, that are kind of like, yeah, what's the next thing? We have the great tooling, now we have a great supplemental threat intel that's going to help that. I'm right at the end, I don't need that. So go and try CyberRes Galaxy.com. It's all you need to is sign in with your email address. has to be a business one, not a free one. We're not going to spam you. And give it a try. Do a report, do a preparation for your next meeting with your customer, and give us feedback. Talk to your partners, talk to security, talk to me. Ping me if you don't want. It's very simple. I don't try you to remember my surname, so just call me peter@microfocus.com, and I'll be very happy to talk about your feedback and really enjoy it. So with that, I've got 22 seconds to go, and I think that's good enough for the morning. Thank you very much.